Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to talk about a word you're probably hearing all over the place, FinOps. And really, what we're going to do is figure out how it can stop you from getting that shock at the end of the month when you see your cloud bill, and how you can actually turn that cost into a real strategic advantage. So to really wrap our heads around FinOps, you got to look at the huge shift the cloud brought. Think about it like this. The old IT world was like buying a giant house. You have these super slow procurement cycles, massive upfront costs, and you had to buy enough space for the biggest party you could ever imagine. Which means most of the time, half the rooms are empty, right? A lot of it just sat idle. But the cloud completely flipped that on its head. Now it's like renting exactly what you need right when you need it. Resources are instant, your costs are totally variable, and you only pay for what you're actually using. And this unleashes just incredible speed. It lets you experiment like never before.
But, and this is the big but, that amazing speed creates a massive new problem, a real dilemma, when literally any developer can just spin up a whole server farm with a few clicks. How do you get all the benefits of that innovation without the financial chaos? How do you keep costs from just spiraling completely out of control? Answering that question it's absolutely critical.
All right, so let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the cloud's hidden cost problem. Then we'll ask what exactly is FinOps. After that, we'll talk about building your foundation, the optimization loop, and why this is so much more than just a one-off project.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the cloud's hidden cost problem. This is really about that double-edged sword of flexibility.
See, without some kind of discipline, that incredible ease of access, it leads to some pretty predictable problems. You've got teams leaving test environments running over the weekend or forever. Resources get way over-provisioned, just in case. And pretty soon, nobody's really sure who's responsible for what. And what's the result? A whole lot of wasted money, bills that are all over the place month to month, and this kind of culture where the cost is always, someone else's problem.
And that is where FinOps comes in. This is the solution. But it's really important to get this. It's not some tool you can just buy off the shelf. It's not one person you hire to fix everything. It's a brand new culture, a totally different way of collaborating.
So here's the textbook definition, right? FinOps is the practice of bringing finance, tech, and business teams together. And what are they doing? They're trying to understand and optimize the unit economics of the cloud. Now, unit economics sounds kind of fancy, but all it really means is making sure you're getting the absolute most business value for every single dollar you spend in the cloud. It's not just about cutting costs, it's about spending smarter.
And that changes everything. It completely reframes the whole conversation. In practice, what does this look like? Well, it means you stop having that classic scenario where the finance team is yelling at the engineers about the bill. Instead, cost becomes a shared responsibility. It's just a normal part of making engineering decisions, right alongside performance and security. The whole point, the crucial thing here, is to tie that cloud spending directly to what the business is trying to achieve.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But you're probably asking, how do we actually do this? So let's talk about building your FinOps foundation, those very first steps on the journey.
The whole journey really begins with 3 pillars, and these are totally non-negotiable. First, you've got to educate your teams. People need to understand how the code they write, the choices they make, actually translates into real dollars and cents. Second, define ownership. This is huge. You have to make it crystal clear who is responsible for every workload, every cost. Because if nobody owns it, well, then nobody's responsible for it. And third, visibility. Plain and simple, you can't manage what you can't see. So how do you actually make ownership a real thing? One word, tagging. Seriously, this is the key. You have to establish a clear tagging dictionary and make it mandatory. Every single resource needs a tag for who owns it, what environment it's in, like production or dev, what application it belongs to, and which cost center is paying for it. It might sound simple, but this practice is literally the backbone of accountability. And once you get that ownership nailed down, and you have tools that give everyone real-time visibility, oh man, the whole dynamic just shifts. The conversation completely stops being about finger-pointing and blame. Instead, it becomes about data. Teams can actually huddle around a dashboard together and make smart, collaborative decisions about, hey, where should we invest? And, okay, where can we optimize? Okay, so we've got our foundation. Now let's look at how this all builds into the optimization loop. And this is super important. FinOps is not a one-time cleanup project. It's all about making continuous improvement a reality. So when we talk about optimization, it really happens on 2 different levels, 2 different speeds.
On one hand, you've got your quick wins. This is the low-hanging fruit, right? Stuff like finding and just shutting down systems nobody's using anymore, or right-sizing a machine that's way too big for its job. Easy stuff, lower complexity. Then, on the other side, you have the bigger architectural changes. This is the heavy lifting. We're talking about shifting to serverless models or adopting auto-scaling patterns so your systems expand and shrink with demand automatically. These take more work for sure, but they deliver huge long-term efficiency gains. A really good FinOps practice is always balancing both of these.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. The goal of FinOps is not just to make the total bill go down. That's a common mistake. The real goal is to make your business more efficient. So what does success look like? It looks exactly like this chart. Your business usage is going up and to the right. You're doing more, delivering more value, while your cost per unit, the cost for each transaction or each customer or whatever you measure, that's actively trending down. That's the sweet spot.
So how do you keep that momentum going? How do you make sure those lines keep moving in the right direction? Well, you do it by tracking the right metrics. You're constantly monitoring that unit cost. You're tracking how well you're using your commitments, like savings plans. You've got dashboards for continuous monitoring, and you hold regular review meetings to keep everyone honest. It's that rhythm, that constant cycle of review and discussion that really reinforces accountability and keeps that improvement engine running.
All right, we're at our last section. And honestly, this might be the most important part of the whole thing. This is about making FinOps stick. It's about embedding it right into your culture, making it more than just a project.
When it comes right down to it, communication is everything. But, and this is key, it's not one-size-fits-all communication. Different people need to hear different things. Your business leaders, they need clarity on the cost-to-value relationship. Your developers, they don't need a giant spreadsheet. They need specific, actionable recommendations, things they can actually go and do. And your finance teams, they need better forecasting and visibility into why the bill is what it is. You have to tailor the message. That's absolutely key.
And that really brings us to the ultimate point. This quote says it all. FinOps is not a project with a start and end date. It is a cultural shift. You just can't treat this like a normal project that you check off a list and move on from. It's a fundamental change in how your tech, finance, and business teams all work together around the cloud. It really is a new way of working, for good.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final question to think about for your own organization. Is your cloud usage deliberate, or is it accidental? Are you making intentional, thoughtful trade-offs between cost, speed, and quality? Or are things just happening, with costs that kind of pop up at the end of the month and surprise everyone? FinOps is the framework that helps you move from that accidental world to the deliberate one. And that's how you turn your cloud spend into a real, powerful, strategic advantage.